In episode 2, now that the queen has announced the diamond, Kate has made a list of her top choices for Edwina to marry, and Anthony Bridgerton is not on that list. News of how difficult Kate is being through the process has made it to Whistledown, and she writes about it in her latest pamphlet. The fact that she left off Anthony does not go unnoticed by Lady Danbury or Lady Mary for that matter. They think it's an oversight, but Kate makes it known. It's no oversight. But just because Anthony is not on the list now doesn't mean he's willing to give up. He does think Edwina would be perfect. Later that day, since she has been named the Diamond, she has pretty much every guy lined up outside of her door to get a word with her. One of those guys is Anthony Bridgerton, although he doesn't really wait in the line. He wants to skip it because after all, he is a Viscount. When he shows up, Kate tells him, "You're way too late. You gotta go to the back of the line." He's not interested, though, in speaking to her right then and there. He wants to escort her to the horse races later in the day, but Kate tells him she's already got an escort. He starts asking about the next day and the day after that, and every time he asks about a different day, Kate shoots him down. Kate actually finds it hilarious that Anthony has decided to show up after what she heard the other night and what she's read about him, but he's simply not willing to give up. As Anthony was trying to find his future wife, his sister, Eloise, has her nose buried in a pamphlet, a Whistledown pamphlet. For a little bit there, she was anti-Whistledown, but after Whistledown's previous pamphlet kind of stated that the whole situation was ridiculous and how women are judged on things that aren't their minds, Eloise is back on board, which is music to Penn's ears. She starts talking to Penn about how she knows that she can convince Whistledown to write something meaningful, but her mother just wants her to find a husband. Penelope starts backing up Lady Bridgerton on the matter, and then all of a sudden, to her shock, Colin Bridgerton walks to the door. He's not the only one who returns, though. Right behind him is Anthony. And he's excited to see his brother, but more so because of the fact that they can head to the races as a united front, the Bridgerton family. And no, it's not because Anthony wants to spend time with his family. He has a plan. Penelope decides to head home, and when she does, there's a new artwork display on the wall right as you enter the house. It's guns and antlers. Very American. Lady Featherington ain't feeling it. As Penelope, Mrs. Varley, and Lady Featherington are looking at this monstrosity, the new Lord Featherington, or Cousin Jack as he's going by, comes down and tells the women, "Get dressed. We're going to the races." Most of the town is there, and that includes Kate, Lady Danbury, and Edwina. Edwina's companion that day is a guy named Lord Lumley, who's all about poetry. But as they're walking along, a guy named Thomas Dawsett comes up, and he wants to be introduced to Miss Sharma, but not Edwina. He wants to be introduced to Kate. Kate is definitely flattered. The two start walking together, and he starts asking her questions about her life. But she does get distracted when she notices Anthony Bridgerton lurking. The Bridgerton boys, however, get called away by Will Mondrich. He's done fighting, and he's decided to open up his own business. It's a gentleman's club. And no, I'm not talking about like a strip club. I'm talking about a place where guys can go and hang out. He invites the Bridgerton boys to stop on by, although they're already a part of a gentleman's club called the Whites. Benedict is all for going. Anthony, though, has his eyes set on Edwina. And as Edwina and Kate are sitting with their escorts, Anthony makes his move. As soon as he walks up, both Lord Lumley and Dawsett stand up and pay him respects. The fact is, a Viscount's approval means a lot. All of them are happy to see him, except Kate. Dawsett introduces himself to Anthony for the first time, and Anthony is nice enough to him, but he turns to Edwina and lets her know that he was unable to greet her this morning because he was spending time with his family for breakfast. It's something that they love doing, which is a complete lie. When Kate kind of puts down the Bridgertons, Lord Lumley actually sticks up for him, saying that there's no greater family in the area. And in fact, him and his mother have wanted to come by the Bridgerton household and enjoy tea there for quite some time, which Anthony says, "We'll make that happen." He then is able to convince Lord Lumley to go get lemonade for Edwina. It frees up a spot for Anthony to sit right next to her and start whispering sweet nothings in her ear. Because of the fact that she doesn't like Anthony, Kate gets extremely impatient, and when Lumley takes a little too long for her liking to bring back refreshments, she makes mention of the fact that maybe Anthony should go and look for him. Anthony, though, says, "No, I'm not doing that, not with the race about to start." Edwina asks Anthony his opinion on who will win the race, and when he gives it, Kate scoffs at it. And to be fair, Kate's opinion isn't just a guess, it's well-researched. As those two kind of argue about who will win the race, a couple rows back, Lady Bridgerton and Lady Danbury are talking about the fact that Anthony has squirmed his way next to Edwina, although Lady Danbury does mention there is a roadblock and her name is Kate. There's also another roadblock. Edwina wants a love match, and everyone knows that's something that the Viscount doesn't really care for. It's going to be up to Lady Bridgerton to maybe change the Viscount's mind. A little while later, Lumley comes back with the refreshments, but Anthony doesn't leave. They just make room for Lumley to sit down. Lumley knows exactly what Antony did, although he can't really say anything. He just has to sit there and now share his date with him. They sit down, the race begins, and when the horse reaches the finish line, it is the horse that Kate said would win that ends up taking first place. Kate doesn't let Antony live it down. She starts gloating about it. It's a little awkward, so Edwina tells Kate, does that horse not remind you about the one that I used to love when I was a little girl? Kate remembers the one. And Antony says, oh, well, take my arm. We'll go down to see him. The three of Antony, Edwina, and Lumley go ahead. And Dawson asks Kate, why do you feel the need to jab at Bridgerton? She tells him that it's her duty as an older sister to make it difficult for the Viscount. And Dawson says, oh, he doesn't like to lose, not even back at Oxford. And right then and there, Dawson realizes he screwed up. Earlier in the day, he acted like he was meeting Bridgerton for the first time, but now he's admitting that he went to Oxford with him. Kate is now convinced that Dawson isn't actually interested in her. He was planted there to distract her so that Antony could weasel his way next to Edwina. Dawson tries to state his case that he actually is interested in Kate, but the damage is done. She quickly goes and finds her sister, who is still with Lumley and Antony, and tells Edwina, we're leaving. Right before they leave, she turns to Bridgerton and says, do not speak to me or my sister ever again. So it was a pretty drama-filled day for Antony. His brother, however, Colin, is back in town, and he's chatting up Penelope because when he was away, she was really the only one that kept corresponding with him. She says to him that he must have been lonely on the trips, and he says, no, I was never alone. Before Penelope can even find out who he was with, Eloise runs up and grabs her. She has impeccable timing. Eloise thinks she's found a breakthrough in the Who is Lady Whistledown mystery. She found a pamphlet that looks an awful lot like the pamphlet from Whistledown, so now she's convinced that she's found the printer. Penelope, though, tries to get her off the case. It doesn't work. Eloise goes to that printer, and it's in the sketchy part of town. When she talks to somebody who works there, he blows her off. He tells her that he doesn't know who Whistledown is, and she needs to get lost. When she continues to ask who Whistledown is, he starts mocking her about the fact that she's after gossip. She tells him that his assumptions are completely wrong. She's not after Whistledown for the gossip. She's after Whistledown to make her a better writer. After all, Eloise is an intellect. So, the printer shows her exactly what he just printed. It's not a Lady Whistledown pamphlet. It's a women's rights pamphlet. So unfortunately for Eloise, it looks like the trail has gone cold. The next day, Lady Danbury, Edwina, and Kate get called to the Queen's palace. The Queen starts talking to Edwina about how difficult it truly is to be the diamond of the season. She's got to be ready for people to come at her with false intentions. She warns her about rumors, how dangerous they truly can be. What she wants from Edwina is when these people come looking for information, she wants Edwina to let her know. She never mentions the name Whistledown, but that's who this all is about. And when both the Queen and Lady Danbury tell both girls to go off and look at the grounds, she admits as much to Danbury. One of the big reasons why she made Edwina the diamond of the season is because of the fact that Edwina has no idea who Whistledown is. She's literally a clean slate. The Queen plans to use Edwina to find out who the true identity of Whistledown is. Around the same time, not too far away, Antony is fencing with his brothers, and he's venting about the fact that Kate is all but blocking his chance at marrying her sister. Colin suggests maybe he just switch gears, find a new girl. But to Antony, finding a new girl is like admitting defeat. It's something he's not willing to do. At this point, it's not even about Edwina. It's about winning the battle between Antony and Kate. He decides to go visit Edwina, but he doesn't come empty-handed. He brings a gift, a grown-ass horse. As Edwina, Kate, Lady Mary, and Lady Danbury are talking about how they're going to have another soiree so Edwina can meet a couple more of her admirers, Kate looks outside and sees Antony and is able to get to him before Edwina. She yells at him, saying, "Did I not make myself clear? I told you never to talk to us again." He tells her, "You don't even know me." And while she doesn't know him personally, she feels like she knows who he is and his type. And it's not somebody she wants marrying her sister. He tells her, "You do realize that every woman in London aspires for the kind of marriage that I'm offering, right?" And the problem is, yes, Kate knows that, but she wants her cake and to eat it too. She knows that her sister needs to marry somebody of Antony's stature. But she also wants a love marriage for her sister. Having both, that's tough. Only a Daphne can do that. That doesn't mean that she's not going to search for that. Antony, though, tries to remind her that this isn't about her. It's about what her sister wants. And her sister breaks up the uncomfortable conversation. When she sees Antony's gift, though, she's less than thrilled. He thought a horse was a good idea because of what she mentioned at the races, the one horse reminding her of one from her childhood. But she tells him that horse was in a book. She's nice about it, but it becomes clear to Anthony that his gift didn't really go over all that well. Anthony then heads home, and that night he's doing some work for the family when he overhears his mother, his sister, and Colin leaving. He gets curious, and his mother says, "Yeah, we're going to the soiree. Did you not get your invitation?" And Anthony, of course, did not get an invitation. That was by design by Kate. Immediately, Anthony takes it as an insult, and Lady Bridgerton goes and says she is looking for a love match for her sister, and you've made it clear of your disdain for such a thing. Maybe you'll choose your words more wisely this time. They then head off to the soiree where it's become all but a talent show. It was supposed to be a poetry reading, but guys are just showing up and trying to flaunt their skills, but there's more of a lack thereof. Two women that are actually finding humor in the fact that none of these guys are all that talented are Kate and, surprisingly enough, Eloise. Even though Kate knows that Eloise is Anthony's sister, because of the fact that Eloise holds herself as more fun, down-to-earth, doesn't have such a stick up her ass like Anthony does, Kate loves her. She actually says, "I kind of think more about him now that I know he's related to you." There's a little bit of a lull in this talent show, and that's when Penelope walks up to Edwina and compliments her on her dress. Edwina returns the compliment, and at first, Penelope thinks that she's making fun of her because her dress is bright yellow. But Edwina makes it clear, no, I actually really do like it. The two don't talk for long because Penelope notices Colin Bridgerton, so she makes a beeline over to him. She needs to get her answer on who exactly Colin was spending his time with when he was traveling. And he says, "You were right. I wasn't exactly lonely on my travels. I started a real conversation with somebody I knew for a really long time, but after everything that happened with Miss Thompson, I realized I didn't know this person at all." Penelope, of course, thinks he's talking about her. No, he's talking about himself. And to make it worse for Penelope, he says, "I have you to thank. Your letters were so encouraging, and I thought, if Penelope can see me this way, then why can't I see myself this way?" He then reveals that he's sworn off women since the whole Miss Thompson situation. And when Penelope says, "Well, I'm a woman," he puts her in the friend zone, saying she doesn't count. You just gotta feel for the yellow-dressed damsel. And while Pen was getting put in the friend zone, her mother was trying to dig for some dirt on the new Lord Featherington, and she was trying to do it through Lady Cowper. Because the new Lord Featherington plans on marrying, and it's got Lady Featherington very paranoid. She thinks that whoever he marries, they're going to kick them out of their own house pretty quickly. She doesn't get much information, but she's definitely concerned. One person who has yet to arrive at the soiree is Anthony. And that's because, one, he wasn't invited, but two, he needs his brother's help. He heads to Mondrich's club, where he knows Benedict is hanging out, and as Benedict is in mid-conversation with an artist, Anthony demands that he come outside and help him. At first, he just wants help on how to read poetry. But as his brother is explaining poetry more and more, he throws out an off-the-cuff poem right from the top of his head, and it's great, so he has him write it down. He then heads off to the party where he does have stiff competition. I mean, Lumley is out here just throwing it down. Anthony is actually the last one to go. He showed up just in the nick of time. And while Kate doesn't want him to go, pretty much everybody else does, and he riles up the crowd enough to allow him to go. He starts to pass off Benedict's poem as his own, but he stops and says, I can't do this. This isn't me. I could stand here and pretend to be something I'm not. I may not be able to offer the display of passion that you truly deserve, but I assure you that when it comes to action, I'll never be found lacking. And I would hope that would speak louder than any poem ever could. When Anthony leaves, Kate tries to use what he said against him, saying, "You hurt him, Edwina. He can't give you what you deserve." And Edwina shoots back, "Does that make him a bad man or an honest one?" Edwina then promptly walks up to Anthony and starts chatting him up. For the first time, it seems like Edwina kind of did what she wanted to and not what Kate wanted her to do. Kate gets so annoyed that she has to walk away, and Lady Danbury notices it, so she goes to check on her. Kate starts bashing Anthony to Lady Danbury, saying that she'll make sure of it, that Edwina never marries that guy. Danbury tries to give her some advice. When you try to do stuff like that, show people the light, it's annoying and it never works. Kate doesn't really take that advice too well. She tells Danbury that she doesn't care what she thinks or anybody thinks, and as soon as Edwina's married, she's heading back home with vowing to never set foot in the city again. They start discussing how sad it is that Kate is content with being alone. Kate saying that she's more content with knowing her sister will be taken care of. And when Kate brings up how content Lady Danbury is, Danbury gets offended, saying, "I've lived a life. I'm a widow. I was in love. You aren't me. And if you continue down this road, you're never going to be. The next day, the latest edition of Whistledown comes out. As Penn and Eloise are hanging out, Eloise is reading it, and she notices that every single K is a little bit messed up. This is how Eloise plans on finding out who exactly Whistledown is, but since Penelope is hearing this, she knows she has to get the printer a new K in order to get Eloise completely off the scent. When she heads to the market and buys it, she ends up getting seen by the modiste, and she completely runs away in a panic. But the modiste is the least of her concerns, because the queen is onto her. She had her spies follow Edwina and see exactly who she was talking to, and it's not a long list, and Penelope is one of those girls. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought this sucked. Make sure to be nice in the comment section. If you don't see the next video up in the end screen there, I'll get it up in a few days, not to worry. And I have merchandise, so go buy a mug or something. It's never too early to think about Christmas gifts, folks. Once again, thank you for checking out this recap.